Hey, welcome everybody to James with Blessed Life. We're into principle two, which is called be humble. If anybody doesn't mind turning on their camera, that's good. If you don't want to, that's also okay, but it's nice for me and for everybody else, if you don't mind. Um, okay, so before we start, I want to quickly do a survey. Um, we're going to divide. This has never worked in the past, yeah. So I'm determined that it's going to work, Bezat Hashem. Okay, if your family name is from A to what? L? What's the middle of the alphabet? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Let's say A to, is it 26, 22? L, A to L. If your family name is A to L, yeah, please fill in this survey. It shouldn't take you more than a few seconds. Don't think too much into it. And if your family name is from um, L to whatever, L to Z, yeah, please fill in the one that says F. Okay, there's H. I should have put that. Everybody's there. Everyone's got the things. So if your family name is from A to L, fill in the car H survey. And if your family name is from K to Z or Z, depending where you are in the world, fill in the F one.
I'm not sure about other people, but it won't let me hit send.
Maybe scroll it up a little bit more.
I'm having the same thing. It says it's just in preview.
Oh, wait, maybe I need to publish it. No, it's published.
The second half is working.
It says also say request edit permission.
Right, same. I couldn't submit it.
Yeah, maybe if I turn it off and then turn it back on again. You guys are trying to do H, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think L through Z went through.
Maybe if I one more time. What about? So if you're trying to do H, it didn't work, maybe try this link, and if not, we'll give up again and we'll try for the next time. You've got 7 responses on the other one, 8 responses.
It worked for me.
Oh, now it's working. Now people are getting it done on the other one.
I have a problem where it's going to take time for me to actually see the picture.
Okay,
They...
don't worry about it. It's not that important, but the point is is proven already. Okay, so let me just share my screen. We're going to stop now. Okay, we'll just share my, actually before I share my screen, we'll leave that. We'll share my screen in a minute. Okay, well, let's get into the idea now, and we'll see what we just did there in a few minutes. Okay, be humble. Definition is to be open to truth, change, and growth. Okay, now this class should really make us feel uncomfortable, basically. Is either one of two options. Either if it doesn't make us feel a little uncomfortable, at least a little uncomfortable, then either I didn't say it properly or you didn't understand it properly. But we're gonna really try and get to the essence of why it is that we're not perfect. Okay. Bezrat Hashem. So the definition of be humble, and we're going to have to, by way of that, is we're going to define what it means to be arrogant, at least for our purposes, our intents and purposes, is to be open to truth, change, and growth. Okay. The opposite, the reverse definition, and this is where it's going to start touching us, is an unconscious fear of change fueled by ego-driven defense mechanisms. An unconscious fear of change fueled by ego-driven defense mechanisms. Now, in truth, this principle of be humble is a chalik of live life. But because you'll see how essential it is, I've kind of extracted it and we're going to give it its own treatment. Okay, the affirmations. Affirmation 1, I am open to truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might make me feel. Okay, that can't be taken granted, as everybody realizes. Okay, number 2, I value other people and their ideas, and I am prepared to change if need be. Again, not a straightforward thing. And number 3, I choose growth over ego, valuing learning over the need to be right. So to say that again quickly, I am open to truth no matter how uncomfortable it might make me feel. Affirmation 2, I value other people and their ideas, and I am prepared to change if need be. Number 3, I choose growth over ego, valuing learning over the need to be right. Okay. What is it that fuels, let's call it our lower self? The word ego's got lots of stuff caught up with it. We could also use the word Yetzer Hara because we're all frum and stuff. But let's just talk about our lower self, the one that causes all the problems. Could we like bring, because we could sit there with a pen and paper and write down endless things, endless ways of how it destroys me and how it distracts me and how it annoys me, etc. Yeah. Could we think of like the central point where all of that stuff comes from? So without throwing that out to the audience, the essence of our lower side is a desire to be. A desire to be. Now, you might think that that means a desire to live, and in most cases that is the case, but it doesn't actually have to be like that. It's actually deeper than your desire to live. So I'll just give you an example. We saw on October 7th, 2 years ago, yeah, a bunch of our cousins invade our holy land and kill our brothers and sisters. However many thousands of them came over, they were all prepared to give up their lives. That's an amazing thing to think about. However many thousands of them there were, it was more than 2,000, maybe 5,000 of them, yeah? All of them were prepared to give up their lives. And if you'll say, well, they were on meth and all this kind of stuff as well, the fact that they took the drug in the first place to come in and do what they did is anyway the point, yeah? So they obviously weren't operating from a neshama place, yeah? They were operating from the lowest place there was. So how was it they were able to give up their life? And it's amazing because this is actually the parsha of this. Really, Akeda, yeah, it's Akeda this week, yeah? Yeah, the end of Era. Yeah, so this is really the, I'm not going to get into this, but this is really where the idea comes from, is that we've seen many times in history people give up their lives for their religion, their political ideology, you know, their business. People give up their lives for all kinds of things. But if we're saying that the essence of the animal self, of the essence of our lower self is to be, how comes people can give up their lives for all kinds of stuff when they're for sure connected to this desire to be? So now this is one of the most important things that I've ever learned, okay? And if we get this clear, this is absolutely life-changing, and this is the foundation of the class, okay? There's a word called identification, okay? When somebody supports a football club, yeah, when their football team wins, yeah, when I hear that Arsenal won, yeah, I couldn't care less. And if I hear that Arsenal lost, that's an English football team, I couldn't care less. But I know there are people that I know as well that when Arsenal win, they are jumping up and down, yeah? When Arsenal lose, they're on the floor in pieces. What's the difference? The difference is that they've identified with that club. They've identified with the football team. And what that means, when you identify with something, it means that you and that thing that you have identified with have merged. It can be to varying degrees, but it means that where that thing ends and you begin, that border has become blurry. Now, I had a phone call from this guy in New York a couple of months ago, and a few months ago now, and he was a hotshot like real estate, businessman, yeah, a realtor, big stuff, dealing with, 8 figures all the time. And he gets in touch with me and he tells me that he's fallen into this crazy deep depression. He can hardly move. And this guy is like this beautiful, sculpted face with the big, beautiful hair. And it's a film guy with a black yarmulke and whatever, yeah. But he was like completely broken. So I was speaking to it, came clear very quickly what had happened, yeah. This guy, in the year that I spoke to him, this year, he made 3 really bad business deals. And he lost a huge amount of money. Like, for sure, it was like 8 figures for sure. And I mean, I asked him, I said to him, does this mean you're going to have to like you're going to have to drop down your lifestyle at all? He was like, no, we don't have to do that. But the Meister, he didn't have to drop down his lifestyle, yeah, but he was so broken. And he kept saying it was so much money, it was so stupid of me. What had happened, and this is very like kind of, it was a textbook case. I said to him, I'm asking a question. Do you feel like you don't know where you are, who you are, or what you are? And he was like, wow, that's exactly it. I don't know where I am, who I am, or what I am. And then I spoke to him a bit more, and Baruch Hashem, he sounded like he had a lovely wife, and he had a lovely marriage, and he had good kids. He had a lovely family. One of the few people that I've spoken to who had such a lovely family situation, yeah. And he was such a kind of put together person. He felt uncomfortable saying these things. And I asked him, so are you having like suicidal thoughts? And he said to me, the way it was like he was uncomfortable talking about it, he was like, he wasn't taking them seriously, but he was having suicidal thoughts. But he didn't feel he was suicidal. He was having these thoughts pop into his head. Yeah, but they weren't, but he wasn't being, but he was disturbed by them, yeah? So I said to him, the reason why you haven't killed yourself yet? I said, because you're still 20% identified with your family. I worked out, I thought that he was about 80% identified with his ability to make money and about 20% identified with his family. So in the Wall Street crash in the 20s, yeah, people throwing themselves off buildings, like everyone, there was multiple suicides a day. Why? Because these men had become 100% identified with their ability to make money or their net worth or whatever it was, 100% identified with it. When that crashed, when that was taken away from them, there was nothing left. There was just this clay vessel that I can't be bothered with that. So the fact that this guy still had a 20% identification with his wife and with his family, and that was still intact, meant that he's still alive today. Everyone's with me? This is identification. So a man or a woman can can give up their life for their identity, which is bigger than their life, their cause or their ideology. When they have, like, anyone saw the film, what's that film called? Braveheart. Anyone saw that film, Braveheart? Yeah. So William Wallace holds up his sword and goes, yeah, they may take our lives, but they may not take our freedom, yeah? Yeah, imagine going up to him and say, Bill, like, what are you talking about? Why would you give up your life for freedom? What has happened is that he has identified with the concept of freedom, and now freedom is more real to him than his life. So he will give up his life for freedom. That's the essence of that's trying to explain that our desire to be is not necessarily a desire to live. Usually it is a desire to live, but it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. So our lower self, which is very much mortal, is scared stiff of dying or of not being. And it's trying everything in its power to be identified with our deepest values. We are trying everything in our power to be as much as we can. And our primary, maybe our only, I think we could definitely argue it's our only tool to be as real as we can is by identifying with stuff. Now, if you've got a $500 million property portfolio in in New York, anybody raise your hand if you have a property portfolio of $500 million? No, nor do I. Yeah. Or if you've got a classic car collection worth $100 million, yeah. Or maybe you're a world level concert pianist or an NBA, an NBA basketball player. See, now all of these things are things that your lower self will very, very intensely try to identify with. What about if you don't have anything like that? What about if you're not so impressive? You think that desire to identify goes away? And this is where we're going to start getting to really, really pokey waters. Is if you don't have those admirable qualities or exceptional qualities, etc., to identify with, yeah, you will identify with anything. You can identify with a backache. You can identify with chronic pain. You can identify with an abusive childhood. You can identify with being a loser. You could use the fact that nothing ever works out for you to become your, so to speak, billion-dollar property portfolio. So you've got people like Donald Trump who identified with being, the most powerful man in the world, the president of the United States, and he's got his billions and billions of dollars, etc. Yeah. But if you don't have any of that, the same mechanism is still at play. It's just we've identified with the fact that our dad was really abusive. And this is why, in so many ways, that therapy can go on for so long without actually making a difference. Why? Because the person can't. It's not that he doesn't want to give up that terrible thing. He can't let go of that identification. That would be analogous to just jumping off a building. That's me. I am the person who went through this as a child. That's who I am. You can't take that away from me, because then what would I be? You with me? It's terrifying to hear this for the first time. Is terrifying because it comes out that the issues that we're usually complaining about the most, yeah, that we want to get rid of the most, are actually, when we look at it with eyes of truth, the things that we want to get rid of the least, because they define who we are, and our lower self is using those things to make itself more real. Everyone get what I just said? Want to give a thumbs up if you got that?
Can you repeat that statement?
I'm not sure what statement, but I'll repeat what I said again in short. That our lower self wants to be. That's what it wants. It just wants to be. And it will do whatever it can to be. Its ultimate tool to be as real as it can, to be as solid as it can, is to identify with things. In a sense, it borrows. In Hebrew, you say metzius. Doesn't really translate so well in English. It borrows existence. That doesn't sound very good. It borrows reality from something bigger than it. That's what it means. That's why it identifies with stuff. So now, if we don't have special qualities to identify with, which is what it would ideally identify with, it will identify with things that could make us special in other ways. Having been treated unfairly, being a loser, always having bad muzzle, bad luck, whatever it is, chronic pain, and it will identify with those things, and then it doesn't want to let go of them. That's the scary bit. letting go of these past, let's call them traumas, yeah, become actually impossible, it would be like handing someone a gun and saying, kill yourself. I've identified, like when you turn around to William Wallace and he says they may take our lives, they may not take our freedom. Say to him, Bill, what would you give your freedom up for? He'd be like, no, wouldn't know what to say to that. That's the end of the road. That's his ultimate, that's what's giving him ultimate being. So that's the same with us, with a lot of us, when we've identified with these past traumas and things that have happened to us, or whatever it is that we've identified with, we literally can't let go of them because they are what our lower self is using to give us, to make us feel that we're still alive, that we're still real. That's the best way of saying it. Is that clear? Whoever asked me to repeat it? Is that a little clearer?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, and I'm going
Can I
to,
ask a question?
yeah.
You keep on referring to the way that we identify as being our lower self. Does that mean that when we identify with something, it's kind of an immaturity? Or is there a higher self identification that's just more spiritual? That's a good way to identify. Like, is that what we're going to learn? What's not a good way to identify and what is a good way to identify?
That's such a beautiful question. Shkoyach. You can't not identify in this world. You cannot get away from identifying. What kind of Jew are you? Look at me. I'm a Haredi Jew. I'm a Hasidic Jew. Yeah. So look at the other guy. Yeah. He's not wearing this. Now he's an out of town Jew. Yeah. Or you send your kids to this school. You wear these clothes. You drive this car. You learn these books. You're always identified with you as a human being. You identify with things. Now, as a Jew, we can identify with Yisrael. We can identify with Torah, with mitzvahs. Identifying with God is not such a good idea usually, because it's usually not God you're identifying with. But Torah and mitzvahs and Yisrael, Ahavas Yisrael, that's a great thing to identify with. But the point is, what we're trying to learn here is not that you shouldn't identify with things, is that you should be aware that you are identified with them. And therefore, if need be, you can extract yourself. You with me? So there's certain things you don't want to be identified with. You do not want to be identified with the fact that your mother was very needy and she bossed you around all the time and made you feel like X, Y, and Z as a kid. That you shouldn't identify with. But then there are times when but in overall, you do identify with loads of stuff. But what we're trying to do here is develop an awareness, a sensitivity and an awareness, and even more importantly, the courage to be able to disidentify when that identification is causing trouble. You with me? Does that make sense?
You also said that you're also using the negative, but we also identify, like you said, with our money or our prestige as well, which is it's not.
We're saying the negative. I was just sure we for sure we identify with money, prestige, and our talents as well. That's one of the things, by the way, that AI is taking away from the world. If you look carefully, is that, you know, I have a friend who's a great musician. I've got not a musical bone in my body, yeah. And now using AI, I'm creating this amazing music in like minutes. And he's like, how can you not feel kind of less as a musician when you've got people like me who don't know anything about music, who are creating beautiful music? This is what AI is taking. It's forcing people. It's if you're thinking about it, it's forcing us to disidentify with the talents that we have, because that's not what makes you who you are. Those are things that you have. We're trying to get connected to the essence of who we are. That's not a talent. We have talents. Well, then, if you have anything that you have is not you. We're trying to get connected to the one that has, not the things that we have. Yeah, that's called your name. Like, you have a name. The name is the Torah term that encompasses everything that you have. Okay. Let's do now what we're going to be seeing is one of the ways that our lower self uses over and over to again solidify itself is what we learned about last week or sorry 2 weeks ago, the idea of paradigms. Okay, now we didn't actually mention this. Paradigm comes from the Greek paradigma, yeah, which basically means patterns. So what a paradigm is, we're going to see some amazing things now. 1 minute. Let me just share my screen. I just have to wait a moment. What a paradigm is doing, like why do we try as human beings? Why are we trying to see patterns? Why does it matter that we see patterns? What does that do? What's the concept of a pattern?
Comforting.
Why is it comforting?
Because you're used to it. You understand what the rhythm of what's going to happen, what the next stage is going to be.
That's it. You understand what's going to happen. A pattern is a predictable sequence. Now I make these beautiful pictures. I can't be able to show you, yeah, but they're just like pictures like in a forest of a guy in a forest praying or a guy by a lake praying, yeah. When people come to my house and they see these big pictures, what's the first thing they ask?
Who drew it?
Or okay, yeah. Or if it's a picture, they ask, where is it? Where is it? And it's just a forest. It's like it could be anywhere in the world. What are they trying to do? Their lower self is trying to somehow dominate it, is trying to take control of it and own it. The more you know about it, the more you're on top of it. Yeah. So paradigms are that function of the mind trying to make predictable. So look at how powerful our paradigms are. Check this out. This is it's in Photoshop. 1 minute. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see this? Yeah, you can see this is like a checkerboard, yeah, with a green thing. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Everyone sees A and B. Can everyone see A and B? Squares A and B? Yeah? Now, what would you say if I was to tell you that the only difference between A and B is that A has got A written on it and B has got B written on it? That they are, in regards to tone, yeah, they are the exact same tone. Does anybody believe me? That's impossible, yeah? I'm for sure lying. A is dark and B is light, yeah? I promise you that A and B are the exact same tone. Look at this. Watch this. This is amazing. So everyone sees what this is, yeah? It's in front of I've created it because your mind will not let you see this.
No, the box is dark.
But watch this. As I move this over, do you see that? No, I'm not doing anything funny. I'm just isolating A and B, and you see they are the exact same tone. Is everybody aware of that? Your mind cannot process this. You're looking at it right now. You know that A and B are the same. But so you know that they're the same, but you can't see it. Does everybody realize the relevance of this? Do a thumbs up.
Can you put A on a light background instead of putting B on a dark background?
I can't mess around with it now, but they are the exact same tone. Do you have the booklet with you? Did you get the booklet?
Yeah, I have it.
The actual pictures in the booklet, if you look on page is it? Yeah, on page 58, 56 and 58 you can look. But do people have the relevance here? Why I'm showing you this? Okay, so now let's do another. We're going to do another little test, okay? 1 minute. Okay, now this is very important.
Is that like just the eye can trick yourself? Is that like a tricking of the eye, or is that the tricking of the mind?
That's your mind tricking your eye, which is how it always. Watch this. Let's do this, okay? Now I think we're about even of male female. So I'm gonna put a sentence in the chat, yeah? Everyone sees the chat? Okay, I'm gonna put a sentence in the chat without any punctuation, okay? And I want everyone to punctuate the sentence, okay? Now, this is super important, okay? If you're a man, before you write the punctuation of the sentence, I want you to do a capital M and then make a space and then punctuate the sentence. It's about 6 or 7 words, yeah? If you're a lady, I want you to do a capital F and then punctuate the sentence. Everyone's clear on what we're doing? Everyone's clear on this? Yeah? Okay. The sentence is, 1 minute.
I should write it down on a piece of paper.
No, I'm gonna put it into the chat and you can see it 1 minute. I'll just remind myself what the sentence actually is. Okay, yeah. Let's just cut and paste. Okay, don't overthink this. Yeah, just write it in the punctuation. Remember, if you're male, put M first, a capital M. If you're female, put capital F first. And type it into the chat. Just quickly do this. This should take you about 10 seconds. Everyone can see the sentence? So I've done this a few times. And it works a treat every time. It's an amazing thing to see. And this will explain to you why. And it's working again here. Yeah, Hashem. Okay, so the statement was, has everyone done it? Just give a thumbs up if you've done it. Done it? Okay. If you haven't done it yet, do it right now. And we're going to talk about it now. Okay, so the statement is, I'm going to try and say it as powerfully as I can. A woman without her man is nothing. Now, you could read this statement in 2 ways. A woman without her man is nothing. Or a woman without her man is nothing. So what do you think everyone wrote? So let's see. Bezalel, male. A woman without her man, comma, is nothing. Yeah? A woman, another male, a woman without her man is nothing. Female. Abigail. A woman without her man is nothing. Surprise, surprise. Male. A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. So female, someone wrote that. Okay. A woman without her man is nothing. Okay, any females here? A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. Oh, wow, it didn't work. No one didn't punctuate that. A woman without her man is nothing. Anyway, the last time I did it was better than that. I don't think people put the, let me just show you this screen share quickly. This is from the last time. Basically, all the women wrote a woman without her man is nothing. And all the men wrote a woman without her man is nothing. Now, the point of this is to show you that we're not seeing actually what's going on at all. Yeah, we are seeing our own thing. And that was the point. And I was trying to prove you that's the point of that checkerboard thing. Is that because you are expecting to see something, because there's a pattern, you are putting so much energy, your mind is putting so much energy into making sure that it sees that thing, that you literally can't see it the other way, even when someone tells you that it's not like that. That is how we live in this world. That's a very sobering thing to hear. That's an amazingly sobering thing to hear. So now, where are we going with all of this? So this is what makes us, this is what we're calling arrogant. Arrogant is the inability to let go of what we're going to call everything that we were speaking about, the identifications, the patterns, all this kind of stuff. What we're calling it is the egoic wall. All of that stuff, the metaphor that we'll go back to again and again, all of that stuff is creating around us an invisible wall. The more we are identified with X, Y, and Z, and that also means identified with our paradigms as well. We get identified with our paradigms. We get identified with the way we see stuff. It's a very, very dangerous game we're playing. It's a very, very dangerous game we're playing. The more we identify with things, what this does is it builds up these walls around us. And that is the idea of solidifying ourselves. That's the moshel. That's the metaphor. Is the more, pardon me, the stronger, the bigger, the higher, the thicker these walls are. That's what the ego is trying to do. Now tell me, what's the fallout? When our ego is successful in building an impenetrable, massive wall around us, what's going to be the fallout feeling that comes from that? And this is the way I've understood it according to Hasidus and Kabbalah. This is the only problem there really is. This one feeling is the ultimate problem. If that wall around us becomes absolutely impenetrable and high and thick, what will you end up feeling? One word. Alone. That's the problem. Feeling alone. I'm going to say, so we're going off track a little bit, but I think this is very important. I learned this recently, and this is just an application of what we just said here. The idea of trauma. Why is it that two people, Jordan Peterson says this clearly, but everyone knows this. Why is it that two people, Jordan Peterson says he's met thousands and thousands of people, yeah, as a therapist, psychiatrist, whatever, psychoanalyst. He said he's met so many people that have been through things that we could never, ever imagine. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you've been through, but he was saying things that you could never imagine how bad they were. And they've come out the other side productive, healthy, emotionally balanced, stable people who've gone on to bring goodness into the world. On the other hand, he said he's also met people who you would literally laugh. You would have to hold yourself back from laughing when they tell you what their trauma is. And 60 years on, they're a mess, a complete mess. So what's the difference? Why is it that some people can get through the hardest things we can ever imagine, and other people can't even get through the most simple, light things we can't even understand? So this is the analogy that I learned, is that if you feel alone, the analogy is that feeling alone is like, you know the projector screens, those big white projector screens. So feeling alone is like a big white projector screen. If your parents weren't good parents, and a lot of us weren't zeicha to good parents, and they treated us as a means to an end as opposed to an end unto ourselves, that would make us feel alone. That's a whole class in itself, I just said there. But if we're treated as a means to an end, yeah, we end up feeling alone. The more alone we feel, so to speak, the bigger the screen becomes. That white screen, the projector screen, the bigger that screen becomes. Now, a traumatic event, what happens is the event is broadcast, is projected onto that screen. Now, if the screen is massive, meaning our feeling of aloneness was abject, then that picture appears to be huge. If there was no screen there, yeah, meaning that we had good parents and a good support place and we didn't feel alone, yeah, then that image gets projected, but it just goes off into the forest. So while it happens, it could be very painful and difficult, etc. But because we weren't alone, the image just goes off. If we feel alone, if we were alone, that image, so to speak, sticks to the projection screen. And now this is what happens where I've understood it, is that we spend our life trying to sort out the image. But the problem's the projector screen. The problem is not the image. The image is the image. That just happened. You can't do anything about it. So we go to therapy and we're trying to rearrange the pixels and try and make it into a nicer, more pleasant, different image. Whereas if we realize that the real thing is just this aloneness, that would be like packing up the screen and there would be no picture there. They really appreciate what we just said there. That's literally one of the most profound things that I've ever heard in my life. And it fits so deeply with everything that I understand in Hasidus and in Kabbalah, that aloneness in Hebrew, you could call aloneness klipa, if you want to get all Jewish. Yeah. But that feeling of aloneness is the result, what we're talking about right here, what we've done to ourselves, forget what happened with our parents and our et cetera, et cetera. But what we've done to what we're doing to ourselves, this constant identification and solidification of our et cetera, that leads to a deeper, deeper feeling of aloneness. And that's why Paro said, just to make it Jewish, Ani ve'afsi oid, there is only me. Moshe said, Einod milvadoi, there's only Hashem. Paro said, Ani ve'afsi oid, there's only me. You realize what kind of abject aloneness Paro must have been going through? Poor guy. So I just want to bring this down to a very kind of sobering. Hashem blessed me with a very, just to show you how difficult it is. He blessed me with a really funny example of how to describe how difficult this is. A good few years ago, I was I was outside my shul. This was 15 years ago, don't know, outside my shul, and a kid had one of the Chad Pami, plastic cups, the disposable cups, and he kind of threw it like, in his credit, it was like in the direction of the trash can, yeah, kind of. But anyway, the lid was on the trash bin, and it went on the floor. Basically, for all intents and purposes, he threw it on the floor, and I went off on him. I was like, "How dare you? How dare you throw trash? This isn't your street. You think you own this street?" And I had all the justifications, and I got very, very upset. And a friend of mine, a really holy guy, walked past. And he's like, "Shmuel, why are you so angry? Why are you so upset? Relax, relax." And I was like, "What do you mean? He's throwing trash on the floor. He thinks he owns this place. He thinks he belongs. He's in, no. Anyway, so I let this kid have it. My friend walked off, and I walked back to my office. And I got in my head this voice saying to me, like, "Shmuel, why is it so bad? Why is trash so bad?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean, why is it so bad? It's terrible." And I got back to my office. I'm actually sitting in this office right now. Yeah, there was a couch where there's no couch anymore. I sat on my couch. I'm looking at the wall. And I said to myself, you know what? Let me ask myself this question. Is it really so bad to throw litter? And again, I'm not condoning throwing litter. Yeah, we don't throw litter. But how bad is it? And then I start thinking to myself, and this was terrifying. I'm not joking. That word terrifying, the only word I can think about what I went through in my office was ultimate courage. It sounds so funny. Yeah, it sounds so funny and so silly. Yeah. But I had to muster up so much courage to ask that simple question. is throwing trash that bad? And then to answer it honestly, I said to myself, it's not as bad as not keeping Shabbos. It's not as bad as Lashon Hara. Yeah. How comes I got more tolerance for Lashon Hara than I have for throwing litter? And I start to think, I grew up in North London. In North London, you don't throw litter. Yeah. You just don't do it. You don't. And if someone does it, they're a murderer. It's just, and then I remember my dad making jokes about the idea of reintroducing capital punishment for litter bugs. Yeah. And then I started realizing that my intolerance of litter, of throwing trash, wasn't a choice that I had made. It was a paradigm that I had been given. And again, like I'm saying, I do not throw trash. I don't accept it in any way. I train my children. I educate my children also not to throw trash. I'll say something to someone if I see them throw trash, yeah, but I'm not identified with it anymore. Now, why was that so terrifying? Think of it like this. My house, of whatever I was, one of the pillars of that was trash. The how'd you say it? The absolute terribleness, for want of a better word, of throwing trash. That was a pillar of my whole reality. Now there was a girl I saw, a girl who converted, and she was a evangelical, like, preacher, whatever, yeah, Christian preacher. And she told the story. I watched this documentary, and she told this story where she had to dismantle. Now that was, imagine that, yeah, what I went through to let go of my trash thing, yeah. She had to dismantle her relationship to Jesus. Now Yoshki by them is not, he's your God. He's your best friend. He's your father. He died for you. He's everything. Yeah. He's your savior, etc. Yeah. Imagine, she said she sat for 7 days in her room and cried for 7 days. It took me like an hour to break my trash thing. Yeah. 7 days of crying to break her Yoshki thing. Now, I think I gave you the lightest option, which is trash, and I probably gave you the heaviest option, which is Yoshki. But we need to become cognizant of the kinds of patterns, the kinds of paradigms that we are running with. Things like, I'm not enough. I'm no good. Yeah. I can't do it. I've never done it. I'll never be successful. These kinds of things, these are paradigms or patterns that have become so ingrained in our minds, so kind of etched into the contours of our brain. But all you need to do is you need to just have the courage to look at them, and to ask yourself the question, is this really true? And remember, the way you see reality is just to do with how your mind is worked out. You don't see reality. You see yourself. You're looking through a mirror, not through a lens. That's how it works. So just by mustering up the courage, so to speak, to ask some really real questions about our paradigms, they already begin to dissolve. It's amazing. If you can really ask the question, these things will start to dissolve, and you'll start to feel free, and you'll stop feeling alone. And you don't have to spend 10 years in therapy for that. Okay, so look, we're just gonna there's so much more to say, but we're running out of time now. So I'm gonna read out a bunch of things, because we've got being humble in action. Yeah, there's a lot of in this booklet we have. By the way, who actually has the physical book? Just give a thumbs up if you actually have the physical book. If you don't and you're in America, I really recommend that you buy it. And if you don't and you're in Israel, you can pick a copy up for me. It's really helpful. It's a really good thing. It really is. Okay, so you know what? We haven't got time. You're gonna have to read through these things yourself. It's on page 66. If you do have some time, there was a lot of I went off on if you were to listen to the last class I gave on this, yeah, it was very different to the class I just gave now, but hopefully it's the same. It's definitely the same ideas. But yeah, but try please to read through the booklet. It's from page 50 to 69. And anyway, it's being dripped to you over the week through the seeds. But yeah, this is really foundational. And I'm telling you that if you can start to look your paradigms in the eye, yeah, and not to back down, not to be scared, yeah, you will start seeing amazing shifts in every level of your life. Does everyone appreciate that? How that will be? Everyone can appreciate that, yeah? Okay. Let's listen to our song. This is one of my favorite ones. Everyone loves this one. 1 minute.
Oh.
Wait a moment. Okay, does everyone see the screen? There's a black screen right now. Yeah?
I used to hold so tight to what I thought was right. Built up walls so high, like I was afraid to die. But the truth can't destroy, it can only improve. If I open my heart, I'll feel aligned in its groove. No fear, no fight, and enough of me. I don't have to be right, I just have to be free. I have no monopoly over what's true or real. I listen, I learn, I grow, I heal. Be humble, be free, let the truth commence. No walls, no chains, no egoic defense. I'll listen, I'll grow, I won't build a wall. I'm not a know-it-all, I'ma learn it all. Uneasy to admit that I'm wrong, but it's the courage to change that makes me strong. Don't think less of yourself, think of yourself less. Let Hashem lead, let the ego rest. Be humble, be free, let the truth commence. No walls, no chains, no egoic defense. I'll listen, I'll grow, I won't build a wall. I'm not a know-it-all, I'ma learn it all. What if I'm wrong? What if I see that the truth is so much bigger than me? To admit such a thing might feel like death, but that's my Yetzer talking, it's a life-giving breath. Be humble, be free, let the truth commence. No walls, no chains, no egoic defense. I'll listen, I'll grow, I won't build a wall. I'm not a know-it-all, I'ma learn it all. I choose growth, I choose light, I choose learning over being right. No more walls, no more fear, humility shines, my mind is clear. I choose growth, I choose light, I choose learning over being right. No more walls, no more fear, humility shines, my mind is clear.
Okay, we're back. Seda, 9 o'clock. We did it. Any questions? For next week. The importance of the music is just you go over the ideas again and again. It's very helpful, the music. So it's just a fun way of doing it. Oh, wait, just
Is there a
before,
playlist? Sorry, is there a playlist of the music?
yeah, it's like look in the WhatsApp thing. Look at the WhatsApp description. Everything's there. Don't run away. I just wanted to tell you the thing that we did with the car at the beginning. Let me just show you that quickly. Everyone will appreciate this. One moment. Let's just scroll to. Wait, which screen are you seeing now?
0 to Pro.
Oh, so I'll just do it there.
The
So,
desktop.
yeah. So the pictures that we saw. Wait a moment. Yeah, everyone can see the responses here, yeah?
Mhm.
So what I did is a little cheeky, but I'll show you. So the ones of you got F, yeah, this was the car you saw. The ones of you who got H, this was the car you saw. And if you notice, it's the same car, it's actually a Ferrari, yeah? And I photoshopped off the Ferrari badge and I put in it a Honda badge.
Mhm.
So what I was trying to show is that the difference between that Honda badge and that Ferrari, it's the same car. Yeah, and I made a more simple background as well. Yeah, the same car. This doesn't work as much with women because women aren't as impressed by a badge on a car. Exactly. So a lot of women probably don't even notice it, but the men notice it. Yeah, it would be different with a handbag though. The women would notice that a thing on the handbag maybe more than the men would notice on the handbag. Whatever you're into. Yeah, but basically we also did the same with the watch. Yeah, so this watch is actually a Cartier watch. And we asked, what did you feel about this watch? Just how does it look? Yeah. And then we just photoshopped the Cartier with Casio just to get to see how it looks. So look at the responses. Yeah. So with the Ferrari, yeah, this was the responses. 1 minute. See, so for the Ferrari, we had a higher average than for the Honda. Same car. Okay. And now I've never done this one before. Let's see if the watch thing worked. Let's see. So this was the Casio, yeah, which got 5.56. And the Cartier got even less. This didn't work with Casio and Cartier, but with the Ferrari thing it worked. But that was the point, is that what we're seeing is impacted so much by how our mind is working. Okay, to be continued. We'll see you next week. B'ezrat Hashem.